people like me. You need people like me so you can point your f***ing fingers and say, that's the bad guy. That's the bad guy. That's the bad guy. That's the bad guy. That's the bad guy.
Welcome to the motherfucking relay. We're covering today's top boxing news.
Okay, we'll start with this. It turns out that the rumors were true. Ohara Davies has signed to Goldenboy. Davies looks to win his first world title with Goldenboy Promotions and is the mandatory to WBA Super Lightweight Champion Rolando Romero.
This throws a serious monkey wrench in Rolando's plans.
This is a strategy play, you understand. Ohara Davies is not a blue-chip prospect per se, or a world beater. At least he's not perceived as being a world beater, but he is perceived as being good enough to beat Rolly Romero. And he has put Rolly between a rock and a hard place because he's not going away.
Nope.
He's not going anywhere. He wants his title shot.
Let's break this down.
Now that Ohara Davies has Goldenboy Promotions in his corner, he doesn't have to settle on whatever number Rolly Romero and Mayweather Promotions give him. If he doesn't like the number and he doesn't like the deal, he can hold out for a purse bid. And if the fight ends up going to a purse bid, Goldenboy can bid on the fight just as easily as Mayweather Promotions can.
PBC fucked up.
They should have done more to get Ohara Davies to stand down and step aside so they can do that Rolly Romero versus Ryan Garcia fight. They should have played nice, and they didn't. Rolly Romero's comments about an Ohara Davies fight made it clear that he had no intention of fighting that man.
What message do you think that sends to Lee Eaton, who manages Ohara Davies? What message do you think that sends to Ohara? You're essentially telling him that you're not going to fight him, even though he's your mandatory challenger.
For Goldenboy Promotions, trying to turn Ohara Davies into a draw here in America would be a tall ask, but that's not the real value in signing him. The value is that he's Rolly's mandatory challenger. Rolly has to satisfy him. Rolly, who very recently submitted a medical report, he's having some quote-unquote medical issue that is further dragging this situation out. Nobody believes him.
No.
I'm sure Ohara doesn't.
He's just trying to drag this out. He's just trying to bide his time, hoping perhaps that someone comes along and knocks Ohara Davies off.
No respect for due process, no respect for the sanctioning body, the powers that be, or the mandatory challenger, that entire process. Rolly Romero seems to think that he's supposed to have his pick of the litter, that he should defend the title against either Ryan or perhaps Gervonta instead of the guy with the title shot, and that doesn't seem to be working.
It's because he ain't got juice like that. He ain't got pull.
This internet fixation with Rolly Romero and whatever idiotic comments come out of his mouth.
It doesn't actually translate into numbers. It doesn't translate into big TV ratings or big gates. Rolly Romero might fancy himself as somebody for getting knocked out by Gervonta Davis in reality.
He's not a big draw, not by himself. I won't lie to you. A fight between Rolly and Ryan, commercially, could do very good business, but that's mostly because of Ryan. Mostly Ryan, more Ryan than Rolly. Rolly by himself, he's not a big draw. If he were, perhaps the WBA would give him more amnesty, more special treatment.
I mean, what were the TV ratings for the Ishmael Barroso fight? Didn't they get beat out by Yanibek Alimkhanalai versus Stephen Butler?
The Alimkhanalai fight drew more eyes to the ESPN platform than the Barroso versus Romero fight drew on Showtime. So believe me when I tell you that Rolly by himself, he's not a draw.
There's no value, no real value in protecting him for the WBA. There's no value in keeping him champion.
Perhaps if we were on the eve of a Ryan Garcia fight, if we were, then there might be some value in him having that belt, but that's not about to happen, so...
Ohara Davies awaits. There are two separate ways I see, two ways that Goldenboy can play this. They can have Ohara Davies take on Ryan Garcia in the fall.
So that Ryan can get the chance to become Rolly's mandatory, at which point Goldenboy can not only push for the fight, but push to host it, push to be at the helm of promotion. They can do it that way,
Or they can keep pushing for Davies to challenge Rolly Romero.
wait him out so that he can challenge him straight away, or wait him out so that they can force Rolly to relinquish the title, to give up the belt.
Cough it up.
At which point, Ohara Davies can then take that belt and voluntarily defend it against Ryan Garcia. I think the end game for Goldenboy Promotions here is to make a Davies versus Ryan Garcia fight for the WBA title. Now that Ryan is campaigning at 140 pounds, they want to put a belt in his hands.
Now, granted, that Ohara Davies' name doesn't ring bells here in America, but the true value of it for Goldenboy and the DAZN platform is making a title fight between Davies and Ryan Garcia. Ryan, who we all know is a draw here.
And if you're Ohara Davies, there is value in having Goldenboy in your corner, because now you don't have to settle on whatever number Rolly and his team give you.
You don't have to do that. Now you have a major promotional outfit backed by a major platform to fight for you and push for this fight, pressure the WBA to come to some reconciliation.
Come up with a solution, because Rolly Romero cannot hold that title hostage. Goldenboy is likely going to push for that purse bid now. That was not a fight that the people at the PBC were going to break the bank to make. Rolly Romero versus Ohara Davies is not a hot ticket, not in America.
They were only going to spend but so much money to make that fight happen.
And now that Goldenboy Promotions is a player in the proverbial game that ups the ante, because Goldenboy might see a lot more value in that fight, more value in that belt than the PBC does.
Rolly's stuck between a rock and a hard place. He's either got to fight this guy or give up that belt.
And if Rolly actually had any semblance of a ceiling, any semblance of talent or ability, he would have just fucking fought this guy to get him out of the way. But Rolly is so limited that if he actually fought Ohara, he might lose.
Ohara might beat him. That's the real reason they don't want to make this thing. That's the real reason they want to drag this out. Goldenboy.
They're likely going to start putting pressure on the WBA to do something.
Because Ohara Davies is not going away.
South of Super Lightweight at Super Bantam, the latest on the ongoing rap situation between Team Inoue and Team Fulton. You'll need Google Translate, but the article says that Inoue agreed to use gauze, then tape on the skin, so that Fulton would stop being a little baby and get in the ring. Oh, and he's wearing winning gloves. Holy shit, the belly laugh.
I think that effectively puts to bed the rap issue, though I've no doubts that if Inoue wins tomorrow, there are still people that are going to try to bring that up and try to use it against him, even though the matter has been settled, even though stacking your raps is not tantamount to having an Acme anvil in your gloves.
Even though stacking isn't actually illegal in Japan, and it's not illegal in some states here in the US of A, Inoue's detractors and anybody harboring any hard feelings,
anybody that's picking Stephen Fulton to win, if he doesn't and they want to be a sourpuss, they're likely going to bring that up.
Even though the matter has been settled, and even though Inoue isn't going to be stacking his raps tomorrow in Tokyo.
It's a great fight, still a great fight, very intriguing.
Stephen Fulton says, I see a lot of things that I can exploit in Inoue, and I know it's probably vice versa. Inoue probably sees things that he can exploit in Stephen Fulton, calling this fight the outcome.
I've said it before, this seems a tougher fight to edge for me than, say, Spence versus Crawford, which is happening later on this week on Saturday.
He's a great fighter, Fulton told BoxingScene.com. And other fighters, when they're going up against a great fighter or athlete, whatever it is, of course there's going to be things that we see that maybe others can't see. You know what I'm saying? I see a lot of things I can exploit, and I know it's probably vice versa. So I feel that's how the fight is going to go. He's going to try to exploit a lot of things and weaknesses that he feels like I have, and it'll be the same for me. That's going to be the interesting part of the fight. Both of us trying to, take away each other's best attributes, as well as pinpoint those weaknesses. But overall, I feel like he's a great fighter.
You will notice the mutual respect that Stephen Fulton has for Naoya Inoue, that he's not trashing him or tearing him down like some of his fans are.
How the fighters behave and how their fans behave can be night and day, believe you me. And I happened to catch the final weigh-in, the final face-off between the two fighters, the steely gaze. Stephen Fulton doesn't seem at all intimidated by this assignment. In spite of what apprehensiveness his trainer might have, He the fighter.
He doesn't look scared. His trainer does.
He's a pound-for-pound fighter, a 3-weight world champion, a former undisputed bantamweight champion, Fulton said. His accolades speak for themselves. He's a great fighter. That's what I think of him. He's a great fighter.
If only Stephen Fulton's supporters here stateside had the balanced approach, the balanced worldview that he has, that he's about to share the ring with a great fighter.
That would make this a great win for Stephen if he can pull it off. Though, do I think he can pull it off?
No.
It's a close fight, tough fight to edge, but I've made up my mind, and a lot of people have been asking me about this. I don't think Stephen Fulton is going to emerge victorious tomorrow, but I don't get the sense that Inoue is just going to go in there and flatline him either. This is Inoue's 4th weight.
Kind of harkens back to when Chocolatito moved up to super flyweight, what was his 4th weight. You started to see wrinkles. You started to see weaknesses.
Perhaps we'll see some in Naoya Inoue tomorrow. I don't get the sense he's going to go in there and do to Stephen Fulton what he did to Piano or what he did to Emmanuel Rodriguez. I'm not ruling out a knockout. I'm just saying I'm not banking on one.
I'm going to go conservative. Inoue on points is my prediction.
With perhaps 1 or 2 knockdowns, I could see a knockdown happening. I just don't know about a knockout.
But I have Naoya Inoue winning. Naoya Inoue, who says he felt the tune-up was unnecessary before facing Stephen Fulton.
In truth, it's not actually Naoya Inoue that really needs the tune-up fight. I'd say it's Stephen more than Naoya Inoue because Stephen hasn't fought in over a year.
Inoue's fought in the last 12 months. Stephen hasn't.
At this point, getting to super bantamweight, I honestly thought, I don't need a tune-up, Inoue told Top Rank Boxing.
He wanted to grab the bull by the horns. He wanted to challenge Stephen Fulton straight away.
Stephen Fulton, who I anticipate, is going to try to use his height, use his length, to keep Naoya Inoue at arm's length.
There have been questions as to whether or not Stephen Fulton, being the naturally bigger fighter, the bigger man, will he elect to take it to Naoya Inoue and bang him out on the inside, or will he box him from the outside because he has the option to do both?
Given Naoya Inoue's reputation and the question mark as to whether or not Inoue's power will carry, I don't think Stephen Fulton and his team are in any hurry to find out if Inoue will be just as big a puncher at 122 as he was at 118. I think they will elect to box and punch.
Circle Inoue, keeping him at arm's length, using the jab, fighting at a slight crouch in a wide stance.
Taking a half step back whenever he gains ground to stay out of striking distance of him. Stephen is taller, longer.
Their hope might be to land hard on the naturally smaller man, his first fight at 122 pounds. And if they get him hurt, Stephen can move in. But until he hurts him,
he's going to play it cautious. He's going to play it cagey.
Based on Naoya Inoue's reputation for being a monstrous puncher, him being the betting favorite, the backing of the betting public.
While it is appreciated, Inoue isn't getting totally wrapped up in their words. Having started his career as low as 108 pounds, Inoue knows good and well that his climb up in weight is neither easy nor normal. From there, it will be a real challenge. This is my 4th weight class, so I'm pushing the boundaries of my build, my limits. Even I don't know how it's going to go, and it does remind me of when Chocolatito moved up to super flyweight. He was still an offensive whirlwind, still very effective, and he had success there, but you started to see holes. You started to see wrinkles. You started to see him struggle.
I think some of Inoue's power will carry, but not all of it. Tack on that Stephen Fulton is a naturally bigger and durable fighter who's defensively minded.
He's a harder target than some of these guys. A harder target than Piano, than Emmanuel Rodriguez.
He's a harder target who's a more durable target than any target Inoue has targeted. So a points decision seems likely to me.
Inoue on points behind being the busier, more aggressive fighter. I do anticipate that Inoue is going to have Stephen Fulton under some pressure. Stephen Fulton, who's not above being pressured. Arnold Kagai pressured him. Brandon Figueroa pressured him.
I think Inoue will tomorrow.
Though perhaps not the same kind of pressure you get from a textbook pressure fighter. Not pressure by way of volume, pressure by way of presence. Staying with Stephen Fulton, staying on him. I happen to think that Inoue is the faster fighter of the two, has the faster hands. He's the sharper puncher.
For more reasons than one.
Don't forget that Stephen Fulton is coming off a lengthy layoff. Over a year of inactivity. That's over a year of not fighting. That's over a year of not having to make this weight. First couple of rounds he might be sharp for a while, but as the fight progresses,
he'll slow down. He'll plateau.
Whereas Naoya Inoue Not having to boil down all the way to 118, now making 122, he might feel somewhat energized, invigorated, perhaps stronger than he did making 118.
Bringing more to the fight at 122 than he would have at 118, leaving less in the gym.
I think
On Stephen Fulton.
Arnold Kagai, who's no world beater, Arnold Kagai, who's not tabbed as one of the pound-for-pound best boxers in the sport, the same way that Naoya Inoue is. And I figure, if Arnold can touch up Stephen Fulton the way that he did, Inoue can do one better and win on points.
The Arnold Kagai fight, you saw Arnold land a number of overhand rights.
Overhand rights that touch the top of Stephen Fulton's head. That seemed to be an area of vulnerability, at least in that fight. I figure if Arnold can get in with an overhand right, so can Inoue, because Inoue is a much sharper puncher than Arnold.
Temple shot.
Temple shot can be a kill shot depending on the circumstances. That's why I'm not really ruling out a knockout. I'm just choosing to go conservative here. Choosing to go conservative on the premise that Inoue's power will carry most of it.
Enough to keep Stephen Fulton honest.
Trading punches mid-range to inside with a puncher that has a reputation like Inoue, that would be ill-advised. Maybe you don't know what he's got.
But you don't want to find out either.
Widespread speculation that because Stephen Fulton is a naturally bigger, taller, and longer fighter than Inoue, he might decide to get front foot heavy and take it to the smaller fighter, fluster him with activity. But I will remind you that in many of those fights where you saw Stephen Fulton fighting in the pocket,
The Brandon Figueroa fight, the Angelo Leo fight, those were all mid-range to inside punchers.
mid-range to inside hookers, whereas Inoue's best punches really are his straight punches. His straight punches long range from the outside coming in.
Thus, I don't think Stephen Fulton is going to elect to crowd Naoya Inoue and take it to him. I think he's going to keep it long and loose, and on the outside, try to.
Jabbing at Inoue to set up his right hand.
Jabbing and staying behind his jab.
Behind his jab, I anticipate that Inoue may look to counter that jab with a counter right hand over the top, a la Arnold Kagai.
A la Alicia Baumgartner in the Mayer fight. Kayla Mayer's best punch is the jab, is the lead hand. You saw Alicia counter that jab with a right hand over the top.
Might see Naoya Inoue employ a similar strategy, as the jab has been a very effective punch for Stephen Fulton up until this point, but he has not yet encountered someone with the speed and sharpness of a Naoya Inoue.
Power.
Speed to shoot the counter and power to get his attention, get his respect.
Fulton's respect.
I think it'll be Naoya Inoue with his back towards the center of the ring most of the fight, with Stephen Fulton moving lateral, circling Inoue.
But it'll be a thinking man's fight.
If Inoue can actually stop this guy at what is his fourth weight, if he can actually score a knockout against an unbeaten unified champion who's a naturally bigger man, that would be thoroughly impressive. But I'm holding out.
I'm going conservative. I'm going with Inoue on points.